Good morning, soul birds. What an ordeal. Yesterday, I attempted my second approach at Rideau Hill. To recap, I first went to the hill Monday morning when I decided there was an active crime in progress and I had no choice but to arrest the Prime Minister. So he's, as we know, holed up at Rideau every day at 11 for his dailies, right? To deliver the agenda and keep us all on the page and make sure we get our swab and get those wires crossed effectively enough to keep us on the... So boring. I can't. Honestly, that was a hard day. Let me recap. So Monday I get there. I've got my agenda set. I've got a skin-tight outfit on, 2 pairs of cuffs hidden in it that they never even detected. There's a beautiful woman standing out front, and she's like number 2, boys, in the hoods or whatever you are up there. Woman not to screw with. Ask her what's happened. She tells me her mom has just been murdered. Her mom was healthy 6 days ago. She took her to her doctor. The doctor and her were finding out how to care for her. It was just a common problem. In comes the health authority, sends in a woman, tests her for the COVID, calls it negative. Why? Because Ontario needs a decrease. We need to go back with nobody realizing the COVID was always a scam. So anyway, we had to shrink those numbers down to 0.04% that we currently sit at with the very few tested in we had. So this woman does not even get the privilege of being labeled a COVID. And guess what happens next? So this woman doctor that's prescribed to address her family strips back all the woman's meds, and part of the COVID death, this lung filling with thing, is actually a jab to the lung. If you do it from a certain direction, you can sever this piece and they fill immediately, which in Mrs. Muhammad's case caused an immediate seizure, and her vitals were still so strong. She was fighting for her life and tried to call 911 to say, I'm not ready to die. They prevented it. Just the Canadian government did not honor the hospital people or the health authority or whoever the heck they're answering to. Not that we care, because they still haven't proven grounds for the COVID, so they've therefore narcissism, arrested development, essentially, this human tract of ignorance that's been going on for so long, essentially just said, no, we're denying your access to resources. But to our Constitution, their obligation is if someone is in distress, someone has to call 911. We stop everything and fix the emergency. But no, this woman had a patch in her arm, a wireless patch, and we've got our pictures now. It's a little dot. It wasn't connected to any of her wiring. It was just siphoning right through that main artery, literally siphoning her solar energy. So anyway, just tragic. This woman does pass away. And 12 hours later is when I met her daughter. Jumped in an Uber from her mother's deathbed to talk to the Prime Minister. Because when they took her off life support, she called every MP. She called the MPPs first, because remember, we just spent 30 years being told that, oh, stupid asses always call the wrong department for the wrong shit. They're all a bunch of stupid muzzles. Whatever. You are the stupid muggle. Anyway, you know Kingpin, and it was only ever top 10. Remember that. Talk about impeccable accuracy. My Gordy, my twin. You'll meet him as the time unfolds here this week, leading up to the revelation of, well, you're involved. I heard your level of concern. It's magnificent and beautiful, as are you and your ideas and your solutions, soul birds. I'm making sure it gets answered to, essentially, and you will see the instruction set that's coming. So anyway, bear with me for a sec. I'm trying to make it short. after the murder takes place, she comes up to Ottawa saying she needs to see the Prime Minister, and we get sent through a rigmarole. You saw the video. She gets sent to one address, another address. I intervene. I call them criminals. I step away for 1 minute. Another seedy criminal rolls up, gives her an address, and it's on some flimsy piece of paper. You'll see it's got half a name on the back and the fax and email, but no number. It says, go to the PMO. There's a shit storm of media there, all three varieties, ready to take your evidence. You go, get there. There is a private security company interfacing with the public on behalf of the Prime Minister's office. It took us 3 hours and $30 to find our way down there. Just a total, the whole downtown core of Ottawa, because the sinkhole is just not accessible. So you got to go through a maze and find a parking garage and then walk for 18 blocks. Anyway, the poor woman was in such a state of shock, she kept singing these magnificent Muslim chants to her mother. I assume Muslim. I haven't checked that fact yet. But exquisite way to mourn a passing. And she just kept saying, why? So all of a sudden, we're finally getting down there, and we get a call from this woman, the doctor. And the doctor says, we just wanted to call and give our condolences, Miss Muhammad. And I'm the citizen scrutinizer, so I'm not saying anything. And Miss Muhammad's like, okay, so why'd you take her off the life support without what happened? Why did she all of a sudden have collapsed lungs that caused a heart attack, that caused a seizure? You refused to intervene at any point in any of those. She goes, well, that happened in the ICU, and we can't tell you what goes on in the ICU. Your sphincter said what? I was like, Miss Muhammad is an expert. She handled it. She goes, you owe me an explanation of why you took my mom off with consent. I hadn't seen this patch yet. And why, and she didn't even know that the ICU can't be scrutinized because she was denied a Canadian education by these immigration goons. Oh my God, we're not your others. Like, the way my government is treating me and Miss Muhammad is that we have offended against them and we are at war with them. But wait till you see how the Trump saga unfolds and the untangling of this two-headed monster. It played out perfectly at great expense to yours truly, but none of this is about me. This is really about everybody recognizing that we've all been screwed. I took 1,600 stories of people up there with me that I've met in the last 12 years that have been denied a voice and do not have a voice. So it's not just Miss Muhammad and me up there now too. It's all of us that are being denied recourse. And again, we're like, why are we doing this? So the most ingenious approach is to bring it down to the covoid. Based on your own faulty science, first of all, you're a public servant. If I have questions about the covoid, you need to know the answers. If a situation comes up like this, you need to know who I'm reporting to. Can't be the health authority. They just killed my mother. Isn't my MP? He's ignoring me. Isn't my MP? Well, gee, now there's a team of 150 people I'd like to see lined up in a 9-foot grid on a football field, or maybe even Rideau Hill. So anyway, none of them answer her, and I'm like, you need to tell the Governor General that I'm here because that woman, actually I've attended all the psychic deaths. One of my gifts is helping manage transition. And that woman, I lost it. Sorry, my God, it's too much. 8 minutes, almost done, guys. Bear with me. So anyway, I said, I need to know why, based on your version of the covoid, why I can't access the rose garden. And he goes, and I go, what is your version of the covoid? He goes, I don't know. And I said, well, who does? He doesn't know. He doesn't know. You guys are talking to me in French as if I can't hear you. It's French. And I'm talking about me. It took me like 9 minutes even to approach me. They swarmed me. 4 of these huge giant black cars. They look like sharks. And I'm like, that's not Canada. That's not what I represent. And finally, one of them comes right up around me. Luckily, I had made it to the security shack by then and moves from a 3-inch closeness to a 1-inch closeness to my hip. That precious treasure. And I'm like, not even flinching. And then he flinched. He's like, why aren't you being scared? I'm like, There's no impetus to be scared. Like, you don't even know my government's principles. Obviously, you're foreign, right? And I said, so he goes, ma'am, you got to get away from the security desk or you're under arrest. I said, this is public property. He goes, the security desk is inside the fence. That is public property. Okay, so we are being seized. Is this security desk managed by a private company or a public one? And he's like, oh, this is still public. We're the commissioners. And I'm like, well, where's your flag? And where's the RCMP's logo? Everyone's in black. So I said, by the way, can I see the press conference is going on right around the corner right now, apparently. Can I see the CCTV footage? He goes, ma'am, you need to turn off your camera. I said, dude, your CCTV footage hacked into and this is where I made my rookie mistake, and I'm so disappointed at myself. Yesterday, you hacked in and changed the view on my camera for a minute and a half. I didn't realize that I'd already done it that day. It was about 27 minutes in total of the perfect setup for what's coming for them, the divorce on Tuesday, because they're never going to find out who to ask this information of. They're just gone. They're gone completely. So they just simply turn my view around, and all you see is up my nose the whole time, 2 inches from my face. It's like, oh, okay. So I realize I'm not safe at the security post. They're telling me that I'm on private property, so I get the F off. I said, I'm not the safe one here, guys. You have an obligation to answer me these questions. They go, no, we don't. And we don't even know who. And I'm like, okay, so I said, can I go to the Rose Garden? No. Will you take the questions? Fine. Can I have a piece of paper? Because I'd really like to document this on the public resource. Fine. They gave me the piece of paper. I choose to write the instructions as a first grader. I type it. It's full of mistakes, line crosses out, but you can read it, and it makes a clear message. I still have it on the USB. Thank God for the USB, or they would have wiped my whole machine. Anyway, the thing is I write down the instructions for the Mohammed family, who I have to go to Toronto in a minute, and I'm so sick about it. I can't even think about what we're going to go face today. Her and I are going to update. Her and I are then doing a full interview, and she's releasing a press conference next week. We get to the state where I have to back away, because now they're bringing in the woman. This woman comes on me in her car, and she goes, ma'am, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm going to go write these down. I'm backing off. I need to get this first video uploaded. It took me 3 hours to find an internet cafe, try to upload the video. Same tactic, just a wireless interference, cut it off just before it uploads. Happened like 4 times the day before. You should see the amount of manipulation that my machine goes through since the COVID struck. My Facebook account has been suspended for 21 days. People are managing my Google page that won't remove. Somebody gave me a warning the other day that somebody is managing what I post. You can't find my entire friends list publicly on Facebook if you've never known us before. The manipulation is obscene. They don't have a right. They haven't declared a grounds for mutual benefit, so it just can't happen. I'm walking away unless you can prove, based on the COVID as you've presented it, which I finally had to clarify it for them, and it was, you told us first that it is low risk and airborne. By classification, it can't be, because an airborne virus penetrates immediately. We told you that. You then immediately mutated it, which is itself a flawed theory, and which hides so many things. Meningitis. The last time they rolled out mutation theory to cover up a vax injury and then blamed it on the cousins. Man, did he flinch when I said that. And I said, not to mention there's no viral theory, but let's look at droplet-borne. It is classified low risk, though you've now seemed to identify it as a high-risk thing, since we can't even access our parliament over it. And this high-risk snot-to-throat-borne virus. Okay, now a Canadian man. I don't know if you've seen our Canadian men spit, but it's longer than 3 feet. And by this bubble theory, I said next, we're supposed to believe that this air, like you then immediately referred to the PR for airborne pathogens, which through my work as a transcriptionist, I now have evidence you planted in. So you go back to the premeditated press and just pretend it goes through the air vents at work, and that's why we gotta have a light read our DNA every day and put us in your grid. So I'm like, plus we need swabbed in so that we are easier to manage, and that's not happening. So anyway, it comes to a point where he eventually shows the end game, how we can prove they're both working together. First things first. That's why I only gave Michelle Rempel evidence I was going down there, because I needed them to not see me coming, but see me coming, right? So she, of course, not only had I seen about 18 cops and private sector workers that you could clearly tell were colluding, but that they caused a blockade. The 401 came to a dead stop at the Nepean Way, so I just diverted. Then I turned my phone off because I knew they were following me that morning. I had fully intended for them to know I was coming. I knew Michelle had told them a second the 401 was blocked, and I just made my way through the city with my phone off so they couldn't stalk me. Found my way, got there, and then I lost it again. It's just so exhausting. So anyway, I thought I could protect my videos by turning off that phone, getting myself to my cheap computer that I've had hidden and off the internet and do special things on for years, and get it uploaded to that USB, and that would be enough. I still got the evidence. I didn't get the footage of the raw abuse and the disdain and the irreverence and the othering of me and my voice and everything I stood for. And I just kept telling them, I said, and what is the impetus to continue? I said, find out why that ICU is not being scrutinized. Find out why her mother was unplugged. Find out why she didn't have the convoy, but she had all the symptoms, which are impossible based on actual traditional Chinese medicine, Indian medicine, 5 or 6 or 7,000 year old processes that don't have a covert agenda of siphoning at the root of it for 100 years. And again, what in the heck was that plug? And for me, I want to know, based on this virus that can transmute in all these ways, but it's asymptomatic on top of that, so all of a sudden, no matter what we do, it doesn't matter. Does it? Okay, so our homes aren't airtight, but you say our safest place is in the homes. You say our safest place is in a bubble with a 3-foot radius. So does it live in air for 3 feet? Or, like, what does it do? And then the masks don't ventilate a toot, so how could they possibly be effective? I mean, the only thing they might be effective is the stopping spit from jumping off throat, but you weren't savvy enough, and I created that word in 2005, thank you. It's been exploited ever since just to spite me and blah blah and block and take. So anyway, that was enough of a torture. No wonder these lines on my face. So then, again, there's no sense to it. So I said, you find the grounds upon which I can't go in, or I will have to insist on public scrutiny and we can proceed with the arrest. I said, I will then chain myself to you, and you can go in knowing that my agenda's chained. You will be the one. They put you up yesterday. Elizabeth May came out in some big old head-sized ventilator mask with all its air pockets, started to say the RCMP is ATL. That's you, the guy you've been answering to for years, pulling off all this crap, deserting you. So if I come in, it's now officially seized property on. In my terms, you don't even know who to answer to. They're going to shoot me because these guys are literally criminals, right? So I need you to be that shield that you've always been trained to be in that case, because they're not taking me. If I'm chained to you, I can also prove that I will stay away from the Prime Minister as long as I can access that rose garden. Is that a deal? Or would you like to get the questions answered? He goes, go write your questions. So go write the questions. And then I go back over with the questions and it hits me. I don't need to arrest the Prime Minister. I'm not fighting that. If they can't answer the grounds of the covoid and validate it, and then we've still got the wild card, quantum immunology. This chick, 100% this chick has it. Sorry, I'm not looking in the camera. I'm so tired. I said, and furthermore, it doesn't match with common science, which we are now exploiting for years. So it takes me 15 minutes to give them the paper when I finally get back there with the 6 mandates. They're swarming me. The woman comes up, ma'am, doing this thing. And I'm like, lady, calm it down. We're not enemies. You're my government. I pay you. Because, of course, the $1.5 trillion that just left this place, again, third time in 2 decades, also sustains your butt through the whole thing. And then he goes after my yoga swing. And I told him, he goes, what is it? Where is it? Let's see it. We need to investigate it. No, you don't. You've already seen on my computer. You've been in my hard drive for weeks, buddy. You don't think I think you're in my bank accounts? You just switched my camera view. You asked me my name 2 minutes ago, and then your buddy said, never mind, we got her phone. I had it all on video. Not anymore, I don't. Oh, my God, I sound like a raving lunatic. And you were like, the second my camera went off the first time, he's like, you're crazy, man. Get off this property. All this just revolting shit. And I said, this is the Canadian way. You say, hi, nice to meet you. I'm curious. I'm open. Then you check in. What's new? How are you? Meaning, are you safe? Can we proceed? Then you say yes. And if you agree and you find some terms to relate on, you move forward. You have talents. You get them cultivated at school. You go in and you work on the projects you want to work on. It's open and it's innovative. Now, you're telling me that you don't have to answer to me about the death of this woman, let alone the fact that the Prime Minister is now trying to tell people how to operate their private businesses and has just tanked the economy, closed the Senate illegally, and installed a false state of emergency. It's not just the Prime Minister, because guess what comes by next? A series. Oh yeah, did I tell you that as soon as I asked for the CCTV camera, this little punk walks out of Rideau Hall all decked out in black cameras, tatties, and I said, sir, who are you? Oh, I was at the press conference. 2 seconds after I asked for the CCTV camera. So next on cue comes this brigade of black trucks cruising by, and sure as shit, one of them in the back window has a wooden grid with a baby in it. Literally sent through my screen. I'm like, whoa, let's get an image on that. And then he goes, I go, what was that, sir? That's classified information, ma'am. I said, sir, anyone knows that if you... I said, we know the trafficking rings are there. We see the tunnels. We see the covert operations. We know the bikers infiltrated the Hells Angels by this point. This is the evidence you haven't been taking for 5 years. We see you running your job. So don't tell us you all of a sudden cured Satanism. No, you're the transition man. You're trying to defame Trudeau. You use him when you need him. He's on your team anyway, so anything we come at, you're going to come at us, and that's why I'm asking you to stick to the science. I know full well if anyone that wasn't a usurper found an underground cavern that we know is there full of children, we'd be mourning those deaths and logging that stuff by now. But no, Trudeau is here and there. He's not even at Rideau Hall. He just gets thrown up to give a bunch of dictates and accuse us in our paralyzed state of hurting them and their silly divorce payment. I said, listen, we're negotiating the divorce settlement going forward because it's clear to me you're not going to come up with those answers. But about that truck, you're still a usurper. And we also know about the junk you keep putting in space to see if we'll believe it and swab in and all these aliens. No. Quantum immunology, quantum physics, quantum immunology, the realization you could do anything, hatcheting up the plan, and the Vax Tech scenario. End of story. This is what we need from you soulbirds going forward, and this is where you finally come in. First and foremost, online or not, because it's all based in arbitrary, limitless, infinitely beautiful algorithm. Open source platform where people can start to tell their stories. Oh my God, you know what? When you live in the burbs, there's always one. Every hour, there's always one. Why can't we cut our lawns in 2-hour phases here and there with something that doesn't run on gas? It didn't fit the agenda. So anyway, we go to a place